I want to welcome everybody to this demonstration. NAZIYAH, the defense came to rumble, but the prosecution looks weak. Salute to the chat. Salute to the replay gang. Salute to all of my moderators. Now, Jarvis Butts has been in court, right? Now, what did we learn from this latest court appearance? I found out a lot of different things. I saw a lot of different things that I just didn't like coming from the prosecution. One of the things coming from the prosecution was the discovery. They failed to respond to the motion of discovery by Jarvis's defense. Now, what's the motion of discovery? A motion for discovery. A motion for discovery is a written request for evidence and information from the opposing party in a lawsuit. It's used in both civil and criminal cases to help both sides understand the legal issues prepared for trial, right? Discovery in criminal cases. In criminal cases, discovery refers to all the evidence the prosecution intends to use at trial. This can include police reports, witness statements, lab reports, and social media posts. U.S. and Georgia law require the prosecution to provide some evidence without a request, but a motion for discovery is needed for most other information. Now, if the state of Michigan, if they have a strong case against Mr. Butts, which from the very beginning, I felt like their case against Jarvis wasn't strong. I felt like that Jarvis was set up. I felt like he was a pawn. You know, I really felt like, and I still feel like he was a pawn. First of all, let's just look at Miss Annette. Now, we're going to deal with what's factual. We're going to deal with what's in black and white. We're going to deal with everything that's solid in this case. And I know, and this is why the trolls was always coming in my chat and other content creator chats, but this is why they were trolling us. Y'all remember? Y'all giving Jarvis's defense things to help him beat the case. I said, nah. I said, we ain't giving them nothing to beat the case. I said, because if the state of Michigan has a strong enough case, nothing that the content creators, nothing that's on YouTube can help Jarvis beat that case. But let's go back to the very beginning of this case. Why did Miss Annette wait until the next day to report it? Right? She waited till the next day. Notice, she didn't call 911. That is what people would do. That's the proper protocol. When you have a missing person, notify 911. Is it an emergency or is it a non-emergency? It's a non-emergency. Okay, what's the non-emergency? I would like to report a missing person. But Annette didn't do that. She didn't do that. So from the very beginning, Miss Annette is covering up whatever it is that happened to NAZIYAH. Miss Annette is definitely covering it up. She lied on the witness stand. The fake tears. And then, let's fast forward to Kim Worthy. We all was like, Kim Worthy is suspect. Not all. Some was on her side. See, I was questioning why was some people on Kim Worthy's side. I was questioning why was some people on Miss Annette's side in the chat. I was questioning these things because I want to know. So now as you see things play out, the prosecution failed. They failed. This is what we learned at this recent hearing. So this is facts. Prosecution failed. Do y'all know how important the motion of discovery is in a criminal case? Do y'all know how important it is? Sure, y'all know how important it is. That's how a lot of defendants beat their cases, beat their criminal cases, because the prosecution failed to produce the motion of discovery to the defense team. That's called a technicality. But Shank, how did so-and-so beat their case? Technicality. It happens all the time. See, when we look at this NAZIYAH Harris case, y'all, we look at this case. And as Mandy says, everyone fumbled in this case. But why? Why? NAZIYAH, everyone that spoke on NAZIYAH's behalf, everyone said how much of a good child NAZIYAH was. But why did everybody around her fail her? They all failed her. So now you got the prosecution. My opinion, the defense came to rumble. And this is what many of y'all said. Shame on the defense. Shame on his attorneys. Sitting up there defending him. But that's their job. That's the job of the defense. So the defense was on their job. The defense came to do what they were supposed to have done. But are we going to give that same smoke to the prosecution? For everyone that has so much smoke for Jarvis's attorney, are y'all going to have that same smoke for the prosecution? But Shank, none of that matters. He's guilty. We all know in the court of law, it don't got nothing to do with your personal feelings. It don't got nothing to do with what you believe. Everything in that court of law, everything boils down to what can be proven. Why hasn't the prosecution? How many months they had, y'all? 5, 6 months? 3 to 6 months to get the motion of discovery to the defense. That's major. I'm telling y'all. And I'm sure y'all know that. That's major. Now, even if he is found guilty, that's a probable cause for appeal, for a new trial, right there. That motion of discovery, right there. And they're going to bang the top of that nail. They're going to bang it in. So ain't no need in y'all coming at Shank Rock. There you go again, Shank. Giving the defense. Nah. The defense was on their job. The defense did what they were supposed to have done. It's the prosecution. I don't trust the prosecution. I don't trust nothing. I don't. And I got that right to not trust anything when it comes to the state of Michigan. Let me grab some comments and then we're going to move on, y'all. It's also a strategy to allow the defense less time to come up with a game plan. Right. But in their strategy, see, there's all kinds of strategies, but is the strategy going to be effective? See, because sometimes people's strategy could come back to bite them in the ass. I've seen it in high-profile cases. Vari, he was called to identify evidence. Where is his testimony? Lady went with Annette to report her missing to school. Where is her testimony? See, all these things that was said in the beginning, and this is why I was telling everybody. But Shank, they got this evidence. Shank, they got to, listen now. Listen, Shank, they're going to wait until the actual trial to bring out all this evidence. If they had solid evidence, whatever evidence they had, by law, they got to kick it out. That's what the motion of discovery is for. So all them things that Kim Worthy said that they had, BS. I'm telling y'all, BS. When you got a case, when you work in a case, the prosecution, and this is in a federal case, a state case, a civil case. When you got a case, you're going to work this case. And you're going to work this case. You coming out the gate swinging hard. All the way through, you swinging hard. It ain't no coming out the gate just, tapping at the defense. That's not how this thing works. Because you got to know the defense, they got their case. And ever since day one, the defense has always came out swinging hard. They went straight to the text messages with Shannon. I think they letting throw this case and others. I mean, just look. They've been throwing the case from the very beginning. They didn't even have a case at first. 30 days before DPD get involved. And then when DPD do get involved, they got sloppy work. I mean, how is it that the YouTubers, how is it that the content creators knew more about the case than the prosecution? Prosecution don't know nothing about the case. And I'm going to tell y'all why. Because the prosecution is sloppy with their work. They just sloppy all over the place. So now with Miss Parker and her writers with the transcripts, that's why it's very important to get them transcripts. It's in black and white. I know some people don't see the importance of the transcripts, but the transcripts are very, very important to this case. So now what we're seeing is a lot of things that we thought, a lot of things like Jarvis and NAZIYAH at the hotel together. Did that really happen, y'all? I'll wait, because y'all know me. I always ask the chat, help me out. But in the beginning, Jarvis and NAZIYAH was seen on footage going in, but only Jarvis was seen coming out. Is that what really happened? There is no footage. I want to make sure I'm on point, though. Reading it and hearing it are two different things. The prosecution going to let him get off on technicality. A PD has to be registered for life. No, according to the paperwork. I think so. They said they had video None seen yet. I always heard that too. No video evidence of Jarvis and NAZIYAH at that hotel. And that's where we're at. So now in the beginning, see, it was easy for everybody just based off of Kim. Just based off of Kim. Now I'm only going off of what Kim said, just based off of Kim Worthy. All these things that they said, that she said that they had, no proof. That's why they so hesitant to send that motion of discovery. I'm telling y'all, when September the 16th come, we all gonna be surprised. And I'm gonna tell y'all, we're gonna be disappointed more than surprised. Watch. Depends on when the law was passed. I thought so, Capricorn. It was only Jarvis last seen at that motel, not NAZIYAH. But y'all correct me if I'm wrong. From the beginning, it was, the video footage showed Jarvis and NAZIYAH going in. Consequences. Violations can result in felony charges with penalties ranging from imprisonment up to 4 years for a first offense, up to 7 years for a second offense, to substantial fines. Salute, Kim. The prosecution not doing their jobs, they have no evidence. They mislead, they mishandle everything. Remember the last photo she took, that wasn't a last photo. They are messing up the case. Correct, because y'all correct me if I'm wrong now. Shannon said they had to get photos. Everything Shannon said that they had to get. But why? Why mislead the public? Why mislead us? See? And like I said, and I'll say it again, that's why when we do demonstrations, not just Shank Rock, but everybody else, that's why when content creators do demonstrations about Jarvis being a scapegoat and Jarvis being a pawn, that's why me and all the other content creators, that's why we were getting trolled. That's why in the comment section, they were saying, y'all taking up for Jarvis. I can't stand this. Jarvis did this. Why y'all trying to give Jarvis a scapegoat? Because they knew. And I'm going to tell y'all, those that be in our comment section is Annette and Shannon and others that's affiliated with them. I've been peeped that. Me and my team, we been peeped that. My team was been on it. But that's why. Because Jarvis is the scapegoat. Now, Jarvis, in my opinion, and according to the evidence, Jarvis was inappropriately touching NAZIYAH. He did inappropriately touch NAZIYAH. But he's not that way as though they perceive him as he was inappropriately touching NAZIYAH every day, all day long. And I know, but Shank, what difference do it make? He inappropriately touched her, so it don't make a difference if he only inappropriately touched her one time. And that's so true. That's so true. But let's get everybody. Let's get everybody that's involved. Because I got news for y'all. Jarvis wasn't the only adult male that inappropriately touched NAZIYAH Harris. Go back to Mark D. What did Mark D say? Mark D said there was a 40-year-old autism man that inappropriately touched NAZIYAH. Y'all remember? We went down the rabbit hole. Appreciate this super chat, Kimberly. This is a good funky ass demonstration. Kimberly always got to be the troublemaker that always get y'all on punishment. Appreciate this super chat, Kimberly. Make sure y'all give thanks to Kimberly for being on punishment. But go back. Like I said, now you got the 40-year-old autism guy that inappropriately touched her. We got this fool right here. We got this fool that's inappropriately touching her. That's inappropriately touching her. So, as I said before, and I can speak for the other content creators, we want all of them. We want them all. We want everyone that failed NAZIYAH to be held accountable. We want everyone that inappropriately touched NAZIYAH, we want them to be charged. And whoever it is that unalived NAZIYAH, we want that person or persons to be held accountable as well. But the prosecution is playing on our heads. And I'm going to tell y'all why the prosecution is playing on our heads. Because if the prosecution really done a thorough investigation, those that failed NAZIYAH, those that inappropriately touched NAZIYAH, all of them would be brought to justice, not just Jarvis. They all would be brought to justice. And that's why the prosecution is moving the way that they moving, y'all. I'm telling y'all. Appreciate this, Miss Cheeks. Keep cooking, Shank. You on it today, sir. I sat back and I watched. And I seen it, y'all. I seen it. I said, damn. Y'all remember what I say about the defense. I said, damn, the defense had me thinking. Now, in a jury trial, and this is why 9 out of 10 defendants, this is why they choose a jury trial. This is why they pick a jury trial. A jury trial is easy to be found not guilty than just a judge. You got one person. You don't know if this judge, you don't know if he's racist. You don't know, he might have a bad day. You just don't know. The judge and the prosecution could golf together. You know, all kind of things could come into play and does come into play when you're being tried, when it's a judge. So this is why 9 out of 10 grab a jury trial, because all it takes is one. That's all it takes is one. And like I said, I would have been that one. Yeah, I would have been that one that would have found Jarvis not guilty. Y'all just had to be mad at Shank Rock. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat from that. But guess what? Bring y'all funky asses on. But I'm going to tell y'all why I would have said not guilty. Because in the court of law, it's what can be proven. They didn't prove, first of all, they didn't prove the unaliving. Let's just start with that. Let's start with the red rum. They didn't prove the red rum. Who had a motive? Backtrack. 3 people that we know had a motive. Shannon, Jarvis, and Miss Annette. I ruled Miss Annette out because Miss Annette, she wouldn't have been getting that check. But Shank, she would have got the insurance policy. Would she have got that insurance policy? Is she going to get that insurance policy? Jarvis, we all felt the same when it comes to Jarvis. Jarvis loved NAZIYAH. Jarvis was in love with NAZIYAH. See, we got to stop getting it like, okay, because he was inappropriately touching her, he didn't love her. He didn't care for her. When you go to them text messages, why did she depend on Jarvis? And if y'all studied those text messages, Just study the text messages. Jarvis never raised his voice. Jarvis never threatened her in any of them text messages. In fact, in them text messages, it shows that on times when they were supposed to got together, no show. Jarvis didn't show. He didn't show. The prosecution never proved anything in them text messages that would lead up to Jarvis unaliving her. Look, God damn it, didn't I tell you, funky ass, to get an abortion? You never see that. That was never read in the text messages. When she asked him, are you mad at me? He never, yeah, I'm mad at your dumb ass. Blah, 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 blah. None of that. No. See? And even in the text messages, he said, I didn't nut in you. I didn't nut in you. So, I mean, but he got it. He read Rumda. He unalived her because she wanted to keep the baby. Well, if he's feeling like he ain't the father of the baby, I ain't the father of that baby. I'll say it again. The prosecution looks weak. They do, y'all. They look weak. Now, if y'all seen his defense, y'all saw how his defense was rumbling at the arraignment. Imagine how his defense going to rumble at trial. Do y'all really think his defense going to get up at trial and don't do their job? They showing y'all. They come to play. They come to rumble. Sleep on them if you want. The defense, I'm telling y'all, the defense, in my opinion, the defense got a big joker. That motion of discovery is the defense's big joker. They got a little joker. Come on now. The text messages. Nobody. First thing the defense going to say to Miss Annette is, why did you wait till the next day? See? And one thing I notice about witnesses, one thing I notice about when people are under oath and people get up on that witness stand, one thing I know, it's hard for them to keep a lie going. Because see, now, Miss Annette and Shannon, they're going to get tripped up in their lies by that defense. They are. That defense is coming for Shannon and Miss Annette. And I promise y'all, that defense is going to say to Shannon, did you have a motive? Did you have a motive? When you found out these sexual text messages between your niece and Jarvis, how did that make you feel? Shannon can try to lie all she want to. What y'all already know what she gonna say. That's why I be so glad when we do that mock trial. Miss Parker and her riders, I want to do the mock trial. I really want to do another mock trial. Shout out to everybody. Miss Parker and her riders. Shout out to y'all for that mock trial. A lot of people was hating on that mock trial. A lot. And some of them was hating on the mock trial just because they don't like Miss Parker. Let's put everything in its proper perspective. It ain't had nothing to do with a mock trial. A lot of people hated the mock trial because it was done by Miss Parker and the riders. That's why. Then the others that was feeling some type of way about it because they just didn't understand what Miss Parker and the riders was trying to get across. But y'all tell me, the mock trial or this arraignment hearing, that mock trial, the prosecution was on top of her game. The prosecution in that mock trial looked way stronger than the prosecution in the real trial. Right? Shout out to all other content creators and they subscribers that has been covering this case. Shout out to all the content creators. See, the distraction. Y'all remember when the distraction came and what I was always telling y'all? I said it's not a distraction. That's what they wanted us to think. It was a distraction. Wasn't no distraction. You had content creators believing this. You had content creators believing that. You had some disagreements over here, some disagreements over there. But it wasn't no distraction. Once again, that was Annette and Shannon and them in our chats, trolling us, trying to twist the narrative. Because the content creators is hot on their funky asses. No matter what content creator you go to, you're going to learn something about this NAZIYAH Harris case that you didn't already know. What you get from Shank Rock, you ain't going to get from nobody else. But what you get from those content creators, you can't get it from Shank Rock. I can't give y'all everything because I don't know everything. So I got to listen and I got to watch the other content creators to get some jewels and some information. And I'm sure they do the same thing with Shank Rock. But that was Annette and Shannon and them trying to twist that narrative. Oh, it's a distraction. Oh, can we just get back to NAZIYAH Harris? And for those that were always saying, it's about NAZIYAH Harris. Where is NAZIYAH Harris at? Ask them where's NAZIYAH Harris at. Y'all were trolling too. Y'all were trolling too. Because if Shank Rock knew where NAZIYAH Harris was at, duh, I would have been gave that information up. And any other content creators would have gave it up. So asking us and always dropping down in the chat when we're doing our demonstrations, where is NAZIYAH Harris? It's like trying to grab a bird that's flying in the sky. It's out of our reach. You reaching for a bird that's flying in the sky, you a fool. It's out of your reach. So coming in our chats, nothing matters but where is NAZIYAH Harris? So you mean to tell me if all the content creators, if all our demonstrations was about where is NAZIYAH Harris, how would y'all known anything about the transcripts? How would y'all known anything about going down that rabbit hole? How would y'all known anything about the church? How would y'all known anything about Shannon, Marquita? How would y'all know anything about Dre? See, if you paid attention to Dre dropped some heavy information on us. If you paid attention to the family members dropped some heavy information on us. If you paid attention, Shank Rock was paying attention. I'm laid back. I'm taking notes. I'm paying attention. I'm hearing information that some of y'all not hearing. Some of y'all got closed minds. Some of y'all only want to know where is NAZIYAH Harris. That's fine. That's fine. It's fine. But like I said, this case has been all over the place. And now that things are starting to play out, we're starting to see some of the things was just thrown out there by Kim Worthy. I gotta call a spade a spade. I gotta call a spade, y'all. Some of the things that Kim Worthy was throwing at us was false, was BS. It is what it is. So now we running around here with misled information. Now it's time for trial. And the prosecution couldn't even deliver the motion of discovery. Listen, in criminal cases, discovery refers to all the evidence the prosecution intends to use at the trial. They couldn't give up that information because they don't got no information. They don't got no solid, concrete evidence. And they know whatever we give them, they're going to rebuttal. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, they're still trying to gather evidence. That's why they ain't send the motion of discovery over. Are y'all listening to me? Are y'all listening to me? That's why. But according to Kim, and y'all backtrack, because I can't remember everything that Kim said, but y'all backtrack. I'm gonna find. Let me find Kim Worthy, y'all, and we're going to examine the evidence. I hope I can find it, but we're going to examine some of this evidence that Kim said that the prosecution has. It's all falling apart, y'all. It's all falling apart. My boy be on point. I see you, Bounce News. Wow. I see everybody in the chat. Point exactly. Exactly. I'm hearing. Salute Side TV. Salute Angela. I always found that to be silly. Where's NAZIYAH? Yeah, it's like we be in deep demonstrations. Where's NAZIYAH? Nothing else matters, but where's NAZIYAH? I've been wanting to tell they funky asses, if y'all funky asses don't sit the hell down, but out of respect. But I'm telling you how I was thinking. Where's NAZIYAH? And I wanted to say, if you don't sit your funky ass down, let us content creators do what we do and get to the bottom. And by the content that we're doing and the way we're doing it, maybe we will find out where is NAZIYAH. But if you expect every content creator to just do every demonstration, where is NAZIYAH? Come on, but that's the purpose why we're doing the demonstrations, to find out. I don't think she's anywhere near Detroit either, or they're not looking hard enough. I don't think they ever had anything. Kim said more people were being charged, and we haven't seen that yet. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. If y'all can refresh my memory on the things that Kim Worthy said, I would love that. Thank you, Karen. More people will be charged. And I love how Miss Parker imitate Kim Worthy. Miss Parker got her down pat. But where's the other people that's going to be charged? Just wait, Shank. I know. Same way with the baby oil man case. Same way. All they were able to prove was a bunch of freegaws. Sad this baby still not getting the justice she deserves. The state is playing games, in my opinion. I need them to get their ish together. We want justice not to be Band-Aid for real, for real. They not looking hard enough. Yes, the content gonna figure it out. Absolutely. The last photo, the clothing. Bingo. Bingo. Come on, y'all. It's so much in the case, and it's so much hearsay. It, like I said, y'all, it have you believing this, but then you find out that ain't true. Then you be like, damn, here we go again. I see you, James. James says prosecutors pump faking. They act dumb and slow. Lies. Right. Prosecutors pump faking. But I'll say it again. Sleep on the defense if you want. But as we having that same smoke for the prosecution, as cold as it is, but the defense, that's the job. That's the job. They are in cahoots together. And that's where I'm at, Andrew. That's where I'm at. Because they know if they really solve this case, a lot of Detroit, Michigan officials is going to fall. No purpose. I see you 80s, baby. I see you 80s, baby. Let me grab Kim Worthy real quick, y'all. Let me grab Kim real quick. Damn, I'm burping all up here. My bad, y'all. Let's see, y'all. All right, y'all. Here go Kim. Now let's chop up Kim Worthy, y'all. This case should have been solved. Regardless of how we feel about the defense, they are on they ish. And I'm just being honest, Jasmine. They had me. My man, they had me to defend. I was like, damn. Mr. Shank, I love the way you and Miss Parker break things down. It's like watching a movie live for real. And Miss Parker impersonation be on point. I be crying laughing. Appreciate you, Shari. That go. See y'all. We go down. See. My troublemakers. My troublemakers never let me down. So make sure y'all thank my troublemaker right here, T-Lady, for me putting y'all back on punishment. Thank you, T-Lady. Boy, y'all must love looking at Jarvis's stable of women. The lies. She looking like Shannon. We might not like the defense, but they know the state has a weak case and the defense didn't come play. I want everyone involved to go to jail. Facts. They definitely went to bat for him. I can't see her without hearing Miss Parker. Miss Parker. They all up there looking slow. We gotta find Kizzy now. OMG, I can't. Appreciate you becoming a member. Now, look, y'all, for burping on live. Now she want to try to smooth things over and grab a membership. Look at T. I appreciate that, T. I see you, Lady Leo. Miss Low Key. They all ugly. You got that right. A stable of horses. More like an unstable. If y'all would like to become a member, click on the link that my moderator Capricorn Chronicles dropped. Y'all ain't right. Look at Amaya says, looking stank and slow. Y'all ain't right. Ooh, they didn't gather or process no evidence. I'm mad. Shannon looked like a raisin head. This is crazy work. Y'all ain't right. Y'all ain't right. Ooh. But let's tap into the things that Kim Worthy say that they have. Now, of course, if they had these things, why wasn't it sent in that motion of discovery? And maybe they got it, and it will be in the motion of discovery. I don't think so. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll bite the bullet and I'll come and I'll apologize. I will. What's up, chat? Hey, Shank, I tried looking for Kizzy Young too. I spoke to Mimi this morning also. Okay. They all got that confused look about them. They remind me of the Oompa Loompas off of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That go Kimberly, y'all. See, my troublemakers. Here we go, y'all. Thank Kimberly. Thank Kimberly, y'all, for the infamous picture of Jarvis and his stable of women. And that wig is like Miss Parker be saying. Oh, you did where they related. All right, y'all. Let's get to, because I know my replay gang can't see the chat. So I know my replay gang be like, what the hell do Shank got going on? Who the hell is Shank talking to? Because the replay gang can't see the chat, y'all. So I know the replay gang be like, this damn funky ass Shank rap. But let's tap into and let's chop up Kim Worthy, y'all.
I have spent decades of my career looking at pictures of murdered people. When I was trying homicide cases for 6 straight years as an assistant prosecutor, I would spend hours thinking about the victim whose case I was getting ready to try, wondering how they spent their last weeks, their last days, their last hours, and their last minutes of their lives. What were they thinking about? Did they know that the end was near? And if it was someone they knew, what must they have been thinking as they were shot, stabbed, or whatever mechanism of death was used and confronted them with by the person they knew or loved? I can't imagine the thoughts that goes through minds. But it's always 1,000 times worse when the person is a child or a baby, someone in the dawn of their lives who haven't begun to live their lives. The picture behind me is of NAZIYAH, and that will always be haunting because it was taken.
Now that's something that everybody caught. She didn't even call her name right. Her name is NAZIYAH. She didn't even call her name right.
Just a short time before the evidence shows that she was never seen or heard from again. It was taken by NAZIYAH herself, a selfie. That's the last known picture that we know about of her.
So that wasn't the last picture. Like we said, like Shannon said, they had to find pictures and piece pictures together. So that's a lie right there. Now, can we charge that to Kim Worthy? I'm trying to stay away from my chat, y'all.
It was pointed out to me by one of the detectives on this case and by one of the prosecutors. She is smiling, waving, saying hello. But little did she know that she was really saying goodbye. We will provide to you later a very skeleton timeline of the time right before her death, before and after. Of course, the detail would be provided in court. The evidence shows overwhelmingly in this case that she is in fact deceased. The last time she was seen alive was January the 9th of this year, 2024.
All right. Now, many believe that that wasn't even the case. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. School. Let me backtrack, y'all, because I think I moved too fast. Let me backtrack.
Of course, the detail would be provided in court. The evidence shows overwhelmingly in this case that she is in fact deceased. The last time she was seen alive was January the 9th of this year, 2024.
Now, many people believe, and even according to Jarvis said the last time that he saw was in December. Jarvis said the last time that he saw NAZIYAH was in December. When was the last day that NAZIYAH was alive? That wasn't the last picture. That baby looks totally different in her last TikTok videos. I see you, Bronze. I see you, Bronze. I see you, Paris. How she know she deceased? And we'll get into that. It's the double chin for me.
Almost 9 months ago. Her missing status was reported to the Detroit Public School Police Department by her grandmother on that very day, when she never.
So, which one is it? According to Kim, her missing was reported on that same day. That's what Kim said, y'all. Now, I ain't putting no words in her mouth. That's what she said. So already, she done lied. She done got her name wrong. Now, she comes to saying that it was reported by Miss Annette on January the 9th. That's not true. It was reported the next day.
Never returned home from school. And again, that was January the 9th, 2024. In early February of 2024, the case was turned over to the Detroit Police Department. Frankly, that should have happened right away, but they began investigating immediately. The evidence would further show that through text messages that we know and that we have, NAZIYAH and this defendant were going to meet after school.
She called NAZIYAH. Let me see, y'all. She all over the place. She called her. Let me see. Let me calm down, y'all. I'm all over the place. Let me calm down.
Further show that through text messages that we know and that we have, NAZIYAH and this.
NAZIYAH. She called her NAZIYAH. It's not NAZIYAH, it's NAZIYAH.
Defendant were going to meet after school on January the 9th. We know that she did indeed meet up with the defendant that we're charging in this case. We also know that several people close to Mr. Butts, who we were charging later, saw them together in several different locations.
Now, she said that several people that's close to Mr. Jarvis that she will be charging later. There it is right there. So who will she be charging later? She got to stand on that. She got to stand on that. I'll leave it up to you all. What are y'all thoughts on that? On her Satan? Several people that's close to Jarvis that saw them together will be charged later. Jarvis saw NAZIYAH more than he saw that bootleg fiance. Kim Worthless was just trying to get a quick and easy conviction, in my opinion. She pisses me off every time she calls this baby NAZIYAH. NAZIYAH, her name is NAZIYAH. The school said she was pregnant. Why didn't they ask the teacher while she was on the stand? Didn't even know the baby's name. Maybe she's dyslexic. It's later, Kim. Let's give Kim the donkey of the day, everybody. Can't even pronounce this baby's name right. She's going to have to tell me who those several people are. And there ain't no getting around that. You said it. You said it right there. So who else is getting charged? Like you said, Mr. Shank, she has to stand on that. Who she going to charge later? Man, why later and not then? So that's Annette, Shannon, Marquita, who the man was. Come on. Why you gotta wait to charge these people if you know you're gonna be charging them? Hell, get off on Red Rum, convicted on SA, all those girls. You did good, Shank. I know. I said she trying to trip me up. See, some words I can pronounce, then some words I can't. But y'all stop trying to trip me up and trying to see if I can pronounce this word or not. But I pronounced it. Didn't she also say she had everyone she'll be charging in this case? That's facts. That's facts. Kim went to church with Annette, Butterscotch, and others. She also had a connection with Annette at the hospital. Wow. Don't the people have to vote worthless into her position? These people need to get out and vote and get her out of there. I agree with you, Tam. I agree with you. And in several locations, where all did they go, Kim? King made immunity already. The content creators helped solve this case. Everyone else over this case has dropped the ball. That's facts. That's why I said, talking about the content creators, they got the case distracted. Nah, it was Miss Annette, Shannon, and them that was trying to distract the content creators by coming in our chats. But the content creators, we solved the case. And we've been solved the case, and we still on this case. It's the content creators that's keeping NAZIYAH name alive. To leave Shank alone. Yeah, y'all leave me alone with trying to get me to pronounce them hard words. Y'all leave me alone. That's what I say. Charge them. Art Gamble. Shank, what you think about Vari? I'm sure they question him again. I think Vari is in a sensitive situation, and I could be wrong. I think Vari, by him being young, I think Vari want to handle it streetwise. And I could be wrong. And maybe that's why maybe that's why Vari caught them charges. Maybe Vari like, Ninja, you did this to my sister. Ninja, I got to come and see you. You ain't getting out of prison no time soon. So, Ninja, I'm coming for you. And like I said, I could be wrong. But I'm thinking Vari might be thinking like that. But I could be wrong. True, Tam. Let me get back to Kim, y'all.
People that he knew well. We have evidence that at 9:30 p.m. on that day, that Mr. Butts checked into a motel and the NAZIYAH was never seen or heard from again.
So even with that, she never said Mr. Butts and NAZIYAH went into that hotel together. She only said that Mr. Butts went into that hotel. Did y'all catch that? How many of y'all caught that? And maybe the content creators and the subscribers, maybe we ran with the narrative. And if we did, I'll take that. Appreciate the super chat, Zaya TV. Thanks God for content creators. Appreciate that. Because she didn't say NAZIYAH. She said that Mr. Butts was seen going into the motel. But then she said that NAZIYAH was never seen again after that. But that don't mean just because I know what she referring to. She's referring to King by, King saying that they were last together. So okay, when I left him, I believe King left him 8:45, or maybe King left him like 8:45 or 9. So I guess she's trying to say, well, what had happened to her? She was with Jarvis, but anything could have happened. See, this is why, in my opinion, the prosecution case is weak. It's weak because just because uh, Jarvis was seen with NAZIYAH before he went to the motel, 30 minutes before he went to the motel, she could have went anywhere. That don't necessarily mean that she went in that hotel with Jarvis. She said it herself. Jarvis checked into the motel. She ain't say NAZIYAH and Jarvis checked into that motel, or NAZIYAH was in that motel with her. This is a weak case. I'm just giving y'all how I'm looking at it. And I sit back and I take my notes. It's a weak case against Jarvis. It's weak. So is Kim basing it off of King saying he left y'all at 8:45 or maybe 9 o'clock? Okay, you checked into this motel. Oh, but NAZIYAH could have went anywhere. NAZIYAH could have went anywhere with anybody. It don't necessarily mean Jarvis unalived her. Go back to what Shannon said. Shannon said she was the last one. She was the last one to see NAZIYAH. 9 times out of 10, the last person that was seen with the victim, 9 times out of 10, they're the ones that red rum that person. So why isn't anyone asking Shannon, you said you was the last one to see NAZIYAH? Nobody asked Shannon that. I'm curious to see what's going to go down during trial.
Not from her family, not from her schoolmates, not from her friends, not from social media where she was extremely active with her friends, not from teachers, no one. We know that she had no medical conditions that would cause a life-threatening medical emergency to her. And he, again, was the last person that saw her alive. She would have turned 14 years old just 10 days ago on September the 16th of 2024. And again, no one has seen or heard from her. You look at that face and you do not see the horrors that she had gone through in her short life. The exploitation, the molestations, the sexual abuse, and the pregnancy that she was concealing. The evidence will show that from one of her text messages to and with Jarvis Butts. And we also know, the evidence will show, that there's no evidence of anyone else being the father of that child other than the defendant himself, who we charged today. And he knew she was pregnant.
So now you got to have that in that motion of discovery, because the defense, they're going to rebuttal everything that was said. There's no way around it. I hope the prosecution don't think that then the defense is not going to come back to this on what Kim said as far as what evidence they have. I really feel that NAZIYAH went home after school and Shannon did something, just my opinion. I've always felt that way. I've always felt that NAZIYAH came home and her and Shannon got into it. Now she's going on 15, poor baby. The school, the teacher, and her grandmother and aunts, the PD failed this baby. They hated her. Hell, Shannon knew she was pregnant. Right, Shari? I think Shannon saw Butts with her and got mad. She watched from afar. Butts left the baby, went home, and Shannon snapped on her. Facts. That's how I feel. There's plenty of evidence it could have possibly be someone else's baby. And that's what they're going to have to stand on. You can't say one thing And now it's not in that motion of discovery. I promise y'all, the defense is looking for everything that was said, everything that was presented when it comes to evidence. The defense is looking for that in that motion of discovery. And it gotta be in there. And Lord knows the dates on it better be correct dates. And Lord knows it better not be anything that has been forged. Now, I will say this. I hope that the prosecution got that motion of discovery together. Because if they don't got that motion of discovery together, it don't make a difference when it comes to the penetration, because I do believe that the prosecution, they rebuttal against the defense. When it came to the penetration, I give the prosecution 3 points for handling their business, because the defense had me sold. And then when I heard the prosecution rebuttal, I was like, okay. But the penetration and the laws of penetration, what is considered to be penetration, that has nothing to do with failure of the motion of discovery. You can have fingerprints. The defendant fingerprints can be on the weapon. You can have a witness testify. They saw so-and-so, pow, so-and-so. So-and-so, before so-and-so took their last breath, could have said that defendant unalive me, the defendant power me. But guess what? If that motion of discovery ain't right, if the prosecution don't get that defense, that motion of discovery in the time that they have to get it to them, what's going to happen to the case? And all of the evidence is there. So all of the evidence can be pointed to Jarvis. My opinion, I do believe the evidence proved that there were some inappropriately touching going on between Jarvis and NAZIYAH. The evidence, to me, don't prove any red rum. Okay? But if that motion of discovery ain't right, because even if they do get the motion of discovery to the defense in a timely manner, what's in the motion of discovery? What's in there? What's the evidence? The evidence got to link up to what Kim Worthy is saying. Yes or no? The evidence that's in that motion of discovery has to link up to the prosecution and what the prosecution said and presented. You can't say one thing, and now we see it's what Miss Parker and her writers about that transcript. That's why the reading of the transcripts are very important. It's very important for Miss Parker and her writers to bring the transcripts. It's in black and white. It's in black and white. And as Miss Parker and her writers give y'all the transcripts, we all are finding out things we didn't know. So now that motion of discovery is going to tell everything that they got against Jarvis. And that's facts. This ain't Shank rambling on at the head. This ain't Shank reaching. I ain't reaching, y'all. Look it up. Look it up. Motion of discovery. All the evidence. All. You know, some of y'all, but Shank, they gonna wait until they drop all the evidence. That's not how the motion of discovery works. All evidence that defense, all evidence that the prosecution got is in that motion of discovery. Now, can they bring new evidence? Don't know. Tone, where you at, Tone? Where are you at, Tone? Can they bring new evidence? I don't think so. Anybody got any answers? Because I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But even if they bring new evidence, the evidence that they already said they had got to be in that motion of discovery. It got to be in there. Everything that Kim said got to be in there. They got new evidence? Fine. What about the evidence that y'all already said y'all had against my client? That got to be in that motion of discovery.
We know that he was also searching for ways to abort the baby. We know that sexually explicit photos were requested by him of her and that she complied and sent them to her. All at the hands, we allege, the man we are charging with her death and also her long-term sexual abuse. In our warrant review process that Matt and Tina and others put together, excellent work on that. Video of 111 gigabytes, witnesses and witness statements, body-worn camera, and let me not forget, it was Tina and Matt's memo, but the work of the Detroit Police Department.
The videos, everything that she just said, it got to be in that motion of discovery. The dates, the time, it all got to line up. Got to be in that motion of discovery, y'all. I see a mistrial coming. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. But I see a mistrial coming.
Anyway, we reviewed 111 gigabytes of video, witnesses and witness statements, body-worn camera footage, surveillance video, police reports, documents, 19 gigabytes, medical records, search warrant returns, phone extractions, which came to 506 gigabytes.
What's on the video footage? All right, let's just stop right there. What's on the video footage? Do you have video footage of Jarvis unaliving NAZIYAH? Do you have video footage of Jarvis with the clothing? Do you have video footage of Jarvis inappropriately touching her? Just because you got video footage, what's on the video footage? You can say all day long, I got video footage of Shank Rock. Okay, what is he doing on the video? And it's like I said before, she talked a good game, honestly. And I have to resort back to the baby oil man case. The feds, they talked a good game. Oh, the feds, they talked a hell of a good game. But when it came time to proving baby oil man was running a criminal enterprise, they couldn't prove it. They couldn't. Now, they could have proven racketeering if they would have focused on the Tupac unaliving. All they had to do was get Keefe D. Keefe D all over social media, all over YouTube, talking about how P. Diddy paid the Southside Compton Crips $1 million to knock off Tupac. They could have easily tied that in. See, it's things that it's things that the prosecution can tie in this case, but they're not going to tie these things in, because if they tie these things in, that means they got to tie in Miss Annette. They got to tie in Shannon and others. And it's going to have a domino effect. Jarvis won't be the only one that's in prison. But that's what they want everybody to believe. They want everybody to believe that Jarvis did all of this. Jarvis wouldn't have been able to pull it off by himself. Maybe, just maybe. That's why Kim said there's going to be other arrests. Well, we all know if you go to any content creator platform that's been covering this case, every content creator says Miss Annette and Shannon is just as guilty as Jarvis. We might disagree over here, over there, but all of us that's been covering this case, we all agree Miss Annette and Shannon and others, but definitely Miss Annette and Shannon is just as guilty as Jarvis. But it got to be in that motion of discovery. I'm waiting, and I'm waiting patiently because I want to know what's in that motion of discovery. But come trial, we're going to find out what's in that motion of discovery. And everything that Kim is talking about, it better be in that motion of discovery or that defense. And y'all seen how hard that defense was fighting at this last hearing. That defense was in there rumbling. Best believe. Come September the 16th, don't let that motion of discovery have in it what they said they got. Watch that defense go to work.
Today, we are charging Jarvis Butts with 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder, 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, and 1 count of child sexually abusive material. Today, we are also charging Mr. Butts with more counts of criminal sexual conduct on 2 more girls, yes, girls, on 2 other separate cases. The girls in question now are 20 and 11 respectively today, but both were under the age of 13 years old at the time the offenses occurred that we're charging.
I believe that they got a strong case with that. I will give you that. I will say that they got a strong case. They got the victims, and the victims will, in my opinion, the victims will take the stand. And many of you feel like the reason why Jarvis is wearing that mask is to keep other potential victims from seeing his face and coming forward. But I do believe some of the charges that they got against Jarvis, I do believe that they do got a good case. I just don't believe all of it.
We are charging that 1 victim who is now 20 years old, that from April of 2012 to April of 2014, is alleged that defendant Buck sexually assaulted the victim at a residence in Detroit. Further facts and evidence on that matter will be placed on the record at the preliminary examination. In that case, we charge Mr. Butts with criminal sexual conduct, 1 count in the first degree, person under 13, defendant 17 or older. In that case, we are also charging Mr. Butts with 3 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, person under 13, defendant 17 years or older. In the second criminal sexual conduct case, well, I guess the third that we're charging today, we are alleging that the victim, who is now 13 years old, that from July 2015 through July 2017, we're alleging that he sexually assaulted residents in Detroit. And again, further facts and evidence will be developed at the preliminary examination. Defendant Butts have been charged with, in that case, 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree. Child under the age of 13, Mr. Butts over the age of 17. Based on all the evidence that I've laid out now and much more that will be shown later in court, based on all these cases we will present in court, Mr. Butts targeted and befriended women who had to have sexual relationships with their young daughters. He would have relationships with their mothers, but his true desire was to have sex with their young daughters. That's what the evidence will show. He was a classic and expert groomer and pedophile. It's incredibly sad, incredibly unspeakable, and we want to bring justice to her and her family. I have to take this moment to say something to you. And this is not directed at all at NAZIYAH's family, who by all accounts had many in her family that truly loved her. This is directed to everyone else listening to me now.
Stop right there. Why, when she had the chance? Why, when she had the chance? The judge called out Miss Annette and Shannon. Yes or no? The judge called them out. What happened to her calling them out? See, it starts to, pieces of the puzzle is starting to come together, even though we had already peeped that. Appreciate the super chat, Nick. Keep cooking, Shank. Now you got the opportunity to call out the family, which you should. What she say? Everybody else. She coming for everybody else, but not Miss Annette and Shannon. Everybody comes. I mean, everybody. All the subscribers, all the content creators, the judge, but not Kim Worthy. She refused to come for the family. Sad, y'all. Let's recap a little bit of the hearing. Right, Minnie, that speaks a lot. Let's recap just a little, and then we're going to get out of here.
At the end of the proofs, prosecution moved to bind over on an original count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree and added a count of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree because of the statement of because of the statement of complaining witness. Your Honor, we believe that is an abuse of discretion. The only thing that we have on the record is she said she touched where she uses the restroom, and the only clarification we had was she said this is where she pees from, or she urines from, excuse me, those were her words. From that, we had prosecution postulating that meant that there was some penetration, except there was no penetration mentioned. There was no penetration discussed. We know from case law, for a CSC 1 to happen, there has to be some form of penetration, even the slightest. Case law also tells us if she testified that he were to force her underwear inside of her, that would be sufficient for penetration. Yeah, we don't have any of that. We never have conversation, or we never have any testimony about her panties being pulled aside. We never had any testimony about her panties being forced in her. We never had any testimony about anyone penetrating her. Now, that is given the fact that she was 4 years old at the time this happened, granted. But at the time of the hearing, she was 13. Surely she could testify. I believe she was asked on direct that she remembered the events, and she said she remembered the events. None of that was testified. I think to say that there was sufficient evidence on the record that says that there was a penetration for the purpose of a CS1 is an abuse of discretion, and we believe that should be dismissed.
Thank you. And counsel, your respective motions, they're similar in nature in that you're arguing the issue of whether or not there's sufficient evidence on the issue of penetration on both your motions to quash, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you want to, why don't we have him argue his, on the second matter, and then we'll hear one response from the people if you're okay with that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so this is then with regard to the case ending in 24101, and, sorry.
Excuse me? How do you read so many books?
I don't. I listen.
What do you mean you listen?
I use this app called.
Okay, and this is Lauren Butler, P88126 again.
Thank you.
So first, to overview the facts from that case, I want to emphasize that this is only with regard to one of the two instances described. The complainant described two instances, but only one of them has been charged as first degree. and I am only arguing with regard to that and that particular charge. So at the preliminary exam for that instance that was described, the testimony included wearing panties. So again, that is similar. She never described those being removed. She did not describe any instances of penetration and only described light touching while wearing panties. The prosecution had the burden at the exam of establishing evidence of every element, and that included penetration. And again, the case law is clear on this. In particular, the case I cited in my motion, People v. McNeese, while that is unpublished, is particularly relevant because it highlights this distinction where it needs to be more than just, it uses very similar language to that used in the exam here with this emphasis on touching the vagina, rubbing the vagina. That's not enough for penetration. And there was even a specified testimony about under the underwear and over. And yet, even with that fact, the court still held that this was not penetration. And that's similar to what we have here, this description of some degree of touching on that area, that alone is not penetration. It also relies on published case law, People v. Payne. Rubbing one hand, where it concludes that rubbing one hand over another vaginal area does not qualify as penetration. And I'd also like to address the response from the prosecution to this motion, because the argument they're making was not reflected in the preliminary exam testimony. Specifically, there was no testimony about inside the vagina. So while they're now arguing that that is possible, it's not the testimony we heard. We didn't hear this contrasting of the labia and the vagina. And this diagram that is now referenced in the motion was not used in the exam. So in conclusion, the prosecution did not meet the probable cause standard for first-degree criminal sexual conduct because there was no evidence of penetration, and bind over was not proper, specifically as to that charge.
Thank you. All right,
Now, let me just slide in. The rest of them were old enough to get abortions if they wanted to abort. This is just sick. It's like they're saying it's okay to touch them as long as he doesn't penetrate her. Let me just address this real quick, y'all. Give me 1 second. So, now this is the law. I want everybody to remember, y'all, this is the law. And I do agree with, this is just sick. It's like they're saying it's okay to touch them as long as he doesn't penetrate her. And that's the law. Now, the law is stating, and what the defense, what we got to understand is the defense is rebuttaling. Okay, so by law, okay, penetration. This would had me, because I was like, well, and even though it's wrong, in my opinion, it's wrong for a man to touch any child, period. But, and I have to use these graphic words, I have to use this graphic language. I don't mean to offend nobody, but he's foreplaying with her. He's touching her. You know, it's foreplay. But foreplay is not penetration. Like I said, so I'm listening, I'm like, okay, so the inappropriate touching in second degree, first degree, it has to be penetration. She never stated that he penetrated her. And I really don't even like discussing it, because I don't want this shit to sound like I'm a weirdo. But I'm trying to land the plane, y'all. Just work with me. I'm trying to land the plane. It's wrong for him to touch a period, but I'm just only focusing on the law and how they had it. Penetration. She only testified that, you know, he touched her. There was no penetration. And I think that the judge saw it the same way how we see it. You shouldn't have been touching her, period. But that's just the judge. That's just the judge. You got 12 jurors. Can we be sure that all 12 is going to feel that same way? That's all I'm saying, y'all. Shank Rock can be wrong. Before y'all come for me on the replay game, I can be wrong. I'm just asking. Before y'all come for me, I'm just asking. You got 12 people that has to decide on this penetration part. Just saying. I think the prosecution's rebuttal, I think her rebuttal was strong. So when I say that the prosecution looks weak, I'm not talking about in this case. I'm only making reference to not having the motion of discovery in place. But I think the prosecution, I think her rebuttal was strong. I think it was strong.
Take lead from the people.
That's me, Judge.
All right, very good.
So I'll start with the first argument made by Mr. Riggins, the complaining witness there, reference by initials PB. She testified specifically that he touched my private part where I use the bathroom with. When asked what comes out, she stated urine. I then asked, tell me about what part of him touches you there. She states his hand. And what does he do? What does his hand do when he touches you there? She states he rubs my private part with his hands. I then clarified, is this on the top part of that? And she interjected, said the bottom. And I said, would that be where the pee comes out? She says, I clarified, is that a yes? So in summary, she testifies she's rubbing the bottom part of her private part where the pee comes out. Your Honor, in a motion to quash, this is the highest deference to the reviewing magistrate in this case. It requires an abuse of discretion, which is most deference to the district court. Penetration requires any sort of intrusion, however slight. And we use the term genital opening rather than vagina so that penetration of that labia majora is sufficient to establish penetration or criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. Here, the complaining witness testified that the defendant rubbed her on her bottom part where the pee comes out. When we think about basic anatomy, we know that pee or urine for women comes through the urethral opening. There's a lot of, biological anatomy down there, but we know that the urethral opening is an internal structure that's beyond both the labia majora and the labia minora. So when this complaining witness testifies that he rubbed her bottom part where the pee comes out, she's referring to an internal structure, thereby penetration. The examining magistrate also found that, and said in her ruling, that for a woman to urinate, it's not on the outside of her labia. That's an internal. That would be beyond that. And so she found that it was a question of fact. I don't believe that there's any abuse of discretion by that. I believe that there's satisfactory testimony, at least to a probable cause standard, for that count. And
Y'all see him peep up?
Please.
Okay. In the
Y'all see Jarvis peep up?
this complaining witness you in your sleep, like you would feel them in your ear, like this or something. We don't have what she was demonstrating, but she's playing with her ear. He was doing that to my vagina when I woke up and I was crying. I stated, all right, when you wake up to feeling something? She said, yes. I asked, where do you feel something at? She says, at my vagina. And I said, what do you feel at your vagina? She said, I feel like somebody's playing with me. Like, I don't know, like somebody's trying to touch you but not wake you up while he's touching you. And I said, what part of him is touching you? She said, he's using his hands. She later confronted the defendant about it. He's asked her why I was acting so weird towards him. He said, she said, you don't remember what you did to me? He, the defendant, looked me dead in the face and said, I don't remember doing that, but if I did do it, then I'm sorry. Again, the reviewing standard is abuse of discretion. And here, similarly, she testified that she felt the defendant at her vagina, that she felt the defendant playing with her, using his hands at her vagina. It's more than just mere contact, mere brushing against a vagina, or just merely touching on top of it. It's an intentional act at her vagina. By stating she felt the defendant's hand at her vagina, she's testifying to penetration. She did not state that she felt his hand on or over her vagina, but rather at her vagina. Again, we look at basic anatomy, Judge. The vaginal opening is beyond beyond or inside both the labia majora and the labia minora. And so because sexual penetration is defined as the labia majora and beyond, the vaginal opening is beyond both the labia majora and minora. And so by stating that she felt the defendant's hands at her vagina playing with her, she testified to penetration. And I believe that there is satisfactory testimony on the record to satisfy that to the probable cause standard, which is, again, probable cause standard is the lowest standard and abuse of discretion is the highest deference to the examining magistrate. And I believe that they both create questions of fact.
Thank you.
And that's what helped me come to an understanding of the actual charge. Now, let's tap real quick into the motion of discovery that the defense is claiming that the prosecution failed to meet.
In defense, would you like to get into the discovery issue that
Sure, Judge.
noted earlier?
Thank you for that. So one of the largest pieces of evidence is the CSLI that was used at the preliminary examination, which the prosecutor posits puts Mr. Butts at the scene of where certain pieces of evidence were located.
And so we're clear, counsel, you are moving into the file ending 218. correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
apologize, thank you.
That's okay.
Back on February the 6th, Mr. Riggins reached out to the people and alerted them that our expert to review it, we needed the Cellbrite UFED, basically the underlying data that is pulled, not the report that is generated from Cellbrite.
What was the date that was put on notice?
February 6th.
February 6th. Okay,
Yes.
so just about 6 months ago.
Correct.
Okay.
And then we received a response back on the 14th from people saying that they would work on it and get back to us. We received another response on the 28th that they were looking for the files, essentially discussing that it's a huge amount of data that has to be transferred. And then we followed up, it was sometime later. And the next response I have is from May 28th, that there would be follow-up with the right person at DPD. They would get back to us. So we've been in communication with the people about this for this entire time. There's no surprise that we've been asking for it. And the response has generally been either that the DPD has it and they're working on transferring it, or that it's taking a really long time to do because the data is so great. They have to basically go through they would take it from a hard drive onto another thing that can be transferred, put it on ours, and then they can send it to us. And as of this morning, we still don't have it. We are less than 2 months out now from trial, and given this is a huge amount of data, we have to have our expert look at it. We are very concerned that we don't have it yet.
Understood. So we do have trial set in that file. I've got it set for October 6th, so we're just north of 2 months by my math. So Mr. Makepeace, did you wish to respond from the people's perspective? Why has this taken so long?
The proceeds from donated vehicles directly benefit the local Make-A-Wish chapter, funding life-changing wishes. With the support from
It was put on your notice 6 months ago.
Yes, Judge. No, and I'm not disputing the dates or the emails that Ms. Quick referenced and the responses. There was a period of time where we had kind of, because it is an unusual request for the underlying file. They do, for the record, are in receipt of the cell phone forensic extraction reports that are generated, which are the files that are usually turned over. Those are UFDR files. This is the underlying file that comes with that or is generated and then put into a report. They have requested that on the dates and times. There was a period of time where I had to communicate with the OIC as well as the cell phone expert at DPD to figure out exactly what they were asking for. That did take some time, and then there was a period of time where I requested from the defense a hard drive that they provided to us for these to be uploaded onto. That hard drive, and I don't have the exact date in front of me, was turned over by Mr. Riggins to me. I transported that hard drive to the Detroit Police Department and provided that to the officer in charge of the case, as well as with the understanding that she and the cell phone expert would get together and get this uploaded. That's where I think the biggest delay comes from, is that there was a little bit of a miscommunication to them, between them, on our side of it, which is that one said it was done, one said that the other person did it, and nobody actually ended up doing it. When I went back to pick it up, it wasn't done. At that time, I brought the hard drive back to DPD and said, this needs to be done as quickly as possible. That was within the last month or so.
So they basically, he's putting it on DPD. He's putting it on the Detroit Police Department. What do we have to say about the DPD, Detroit Police Department? Y'all already know how we feel about the Detroit Police Department. So if it's left up to the Detroit Police Department to make sure that the defense of Jarvis receives the motion of discovery, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I don't know. And as always, my troublemakers never let me down. And I'm going to punish the chat and the replay gang. Make sure you all thank Jasmine for the infamous picture of Jarvis' stable of women. But, I mean, that's basically what he said, y'all, that must have been a miscommunication. Now, will Detroit Police Department handle their business? I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Ms. Parker got a live that's about to come up. I'll see everybody over there. And Ms. Parker, salute everybody. I will leave the chat running and you all can hang around. Salute, y'all.
Actual process for them to upload these or get the files onto the hard drive is to take it from a Blu-ray disc or a DVD onto a computer and then onto the hard drive itself. That does take some time, given that there are, I think, 15 or so phone dumps that they've requested these files for, and the amount of information is large. As of this morning, I spoke with the cell phone expert who is in the process of doing this. He states that it will be done middle of this week, Wednesday. And at which point I will myself go to DPD, gather the hard drive, and provide it directly to Mr. Riggins or Ms. Quick or Ms. Butler.
Okay, so you believe you will have it to them by the 6th?
Yes.
Okay, which is exactly 2 months out from our trial date. All right, why don't we schedule an additional pretrial date for all files? Bring it in to hash out any potential trial issues and things of that nature. Also noting the people did file a notice of other acts. Which files did you file?
Judge, I filed that on all of the cases except for the newest one, because that one wasn't in the system yet. So yes, there should have been 4 filed as of last week.
Okay.
And we do intend to file an objection.
Yes, no.
Very good. So why don't we schedule a date to hear that? Are you anticipating filing a notice on the case Mr. Fox was arraigned on today?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Defense, how much time do you want to respond?
2 weeks.
Okay.
This This is why I stopped shopping on.